this video, we are going to discuss the tools that are necessary for starting the Compose multi-platform project. So before we dive into the course, we need an IDE using which we will be creating our project, and we will be writing the code inside that IDE only. For Compose multi-platform, we have two options. The first one is Android Studio, which the Android developers already use, and many people I think are already familiar with the tool. If you are new, then also it's fine. We will be going through all the options that Android Studio has that will be required for the Compose multi-platform project. And the second option we have is JetBrains Fleet. Yeah. So let me show you what JetBrains Fleet is. So JetBrains Fleet is an IDE developed by JetBrains that supports Compose multi-platform. Compose multi-platform is already also supported in Android Studio, but the preview options and a few other options are not available in Android Studio, but they are available in JetBrains Fleet. JetBrains Fleet also has some AI features, and currently it is in public preview, so it is free. But later they might introduce some pricing for it, and they might also release our community edition, which will be free. But for now, I think for recording this course, I will be using Android Studio only. And in my day-to-day life too, I use Android Studio only for creating projects on Compose multi-platform because I'm already familiar with the tool, and I never felt a requirement for using JetBrains Fleet. I even tried it also once, but because it is in public preview, so uh, there were many issues that I was facing while setting it up. So I felt like I should use Android Studio for now until this stable version of JetBrains Fleet releases. So for this course too, we'll be using Android Studio only. All right. If you are interested in experimenting with Fleet, you can definitely start the project on that too. The most of the options and structure will be same, so it won't be very hard to follow up the course on Fleet. From my side, I'll be using Android Studio only. All right. So if you don't have Android Studio installed, you can open this page developer.android.com/studio, and here you have the download Android Studio Ladybug option. Maybe when you are watching the video and another version of Android Studio is live, currently Android Studio Ladybug is available. So this is the latest version. You can download it from here and our download file will begin. First, you will have to accept this license. And if you have a Mac with Intel chip, you need to install this. If you have Mac with Apple chip, you will have to install this. If you have a Windows or a Linux, you will get the option here only, and you can click on it and the download will start. All right, I'm not downloading it because I already have it. So you can just click here and download it and run the installation once the download is finished. Sorry, the second tool that we need is Xcode. If you have a Mac, Code is basically an IDE for iOS developers or any Apple developer. If you want to create a Mac application, a watchOS application, or even an application for an iPhone, you need Xcode for that. We will be also using it in our project because we are creating apps on Compose multi-platform, and Compose multi-platform code can be deployed in iOS applications too. So we will have to install Xcode so that we can run the application in iOS too. So you can go to here and click on download, or you can just open App Store and here just search for Xcode. And on the first number, you will see Xcode. Currently, I already have it installed, so it's showing an open button. You will get a download button. So you can just click here and download, and the application will be installed. All right. I will be attaching a link to tutorials of how to install Android Studio and how to install Xcode. I didn't think that I should create a video on it because there are already a lot of resources available. I will attach a link of a tutorial where you can see step by step how to download the Android Studio and Xcode. If you face any problems, just let me know in the discussions or comments, and I'll be happy to help. Thanks a lot. That's it for this video. And please complete your setup, and I'll see you guys in next one. Welcome back, everyone. So in this video, we are going to create our first Compose multi-platform project. So creating Compose multi-platform project can be done in two ways. So there is a plugin available in Android Studio, which is the Kotlin multi-platform plugin, through which if you have to only share the business logic and you want to keep the UI separate, like you want to create separate UI for Android and separate for iOS using Swift UI, then you can use the plugin that is provided by Android Studio, which is Kotlin multi-platform plugin, through which you can generate the code for Kotlin multi-platform. And in that code, you can write the business logic that can be shared between Android and iOS. But in our case, we want to even share the UI. So we want to write the code base for UI as well as the business logic, so that the both UI as well as the business logic can be shared in Android and iOS. So only one code base will be used, and iOS and Android both have will be created. So for that, we can use the tool that is provided by JetBrains, which is kmp.jetbrains.com. So if we use this tool, then um, we can create a Compose multi-platform project. So on this website, you can see we have two options. One is new project and another one is template gallery. In template gallery, there are few options, like if you want to download the source code for a shared UI multi-platform app, you can download it from here and use it as a template to extend it and create your own application. Similarly, if you want to create a multi-platform library, like Compose multi-platform is quite new, and you can contribute in it by creating a library so that even others can use it. So if you want to create a library, you can use multi-platform library template code, which will make it easier for you to create libraries according to your needs. Alright. Native UI multi-platform app. This is the basic app template for Android and iOS with the native UI implementation using Jetpack Compose and Swift UI. So if you want to have different UI for Android and iOS, so you want to write Android code in Compose and iOS code in Swift UI, you can download this template. For now, for this video, we'll be creating a complete new project in which we'll be sharing the UI as well as the business logic. So here it is asking for a project name. So let's write it my first CMP project. For the project ID, it is actually the reverse of the domain name. So my domain name is ryteklabs.com. So instead of writing this, I will be writing com.ryteklabs and then the name of the project, which is my first CMP project. It is not at all required that you follow the same name or same pattern, or it is not required that you need to have a domain name. You can write it anything like com dot something and dot something. You can keep it anything, but you should always keep the app name according to your business name so that it is unique and easily identifiable, as well as people can link it to your business name. So that's why you should always keep it like this only. If you already have a domain name, you can use it like this, or if you don't have it, then you can just type it anything. All right. This is just a convention which people follow, and you should follow it too. All right. So now we have given the project ID. Now it is asking, there's a tick already on Android, which is with Compose multi-platform UI based on Jetpack Compose. So yeah, we want to create an Android application too. So we'll keep it as tick. For iOS, we will keep it as tick too, because I want to create app for Android as well as iOS. Inside the iOS, we have two options. One is share UI, another one is do not share UI. If we select share UI, then we will be writing the UI code common for Android and iOS. If I select do not share UI, then it means that I want to write my Swift UI code separately for iOS and Compose code separately for Android. So that is not the case in our case. So we'll select the share UI option so that we can write one code base for Android as well as iOS. Desktop, web, and server will leave it as it is because we'll be focusing more on Android and iOS. For web, I will be creating a separate lecture. For now, we'll be just focusing on Android and iOS. All right. Now you will click on this download button and the download will start. I already have it downloaded, so you can just download it and open it in Android Studio. For opening in Android Studio, you just need to go File, Open, and then you can select this folder wherever you have downloaded the folder. You can just select it and click on open. I already have it open on my screen to save some time. All right. When you will open this, it will look something like this. Where's the README file? Yeah. So once your download is finished and you have opened the project in Android Studio, it will look something like this. All right. So this is the README file where they have told that Compose app folder, which is this folder. Let's just zoom a little bit. All right. So they have told that there are three folders. One is Compose app, and inside the Compose app, we have a common main folder and an iOS main folder. Then there is an separate iOS app folder, which is this one. iOS app folder contains iOS applications. Even if you are sharing your UI with Compose Multiplatform, you need this entry point for your iOS app. This is also where you should add Swift UI code for your project. So if we talk about the iOS application, the code for the iOS application is stored in this iOS app folder. Even though you are creating a project which will be able to deploy the code in Android as well as iOS, you will need this iOS app folder to be the entry point of your application. Whatever code that we write will be sent as a framework to this iOS app folder, and then this iOS app folder will use it to create an iOS application. You'll see it in action when we will be creating an application. And on the top, we have Compose app folder, which is this folder. Compose app is for code that will be shared across your Compose multi-platform applications. So inside this Compose app, we will be writing the code that will be shared across the applications, which is Android as well as iOS. It contains several folders, subfolders, which is first one is common main and second one is iOS main. In common main is code that's common for all target. So the code that we'll be writing will be inside this common main only because we want to target all the platforms, Android, iOS, and in future web too. So whatever file that we will be creating, we'll be creating inside the common main because we want to share it with other platforms too. So inside this Compose app, we have a SRC folder. Inside the SRC, we have a common main folder here. Inside this common main, there's a Kotlin folder. So all the code we'll be writing will be in Kotlin. So the files that we'll be creating will be inside this Kotlin folder only. They already have 2-3 files created inside this template that is generated. So like this only, we'll be creating our own files. This is currently being provided by template. And other folders are for Kotlin code that will be compiled for only the platform indicated in the folder. For example, if you want to use Apple's core crypto for the iOS part of your Kotlin app, iOS main would be the right folder for such calls. All right. So we already discussed what common main is, but you can see we have an Android main folder as well as iOS main folder. So why are these two folders here? These two folders are for the cases when you have to implement a feature that is different in Android and different in iOS. So the common code that we write, we say that this common code will run in all the platforms. What if there is something, a little change that you want in Android and a little change that you want in iOS? So in that case, you can declare that change inside this iOS main folder and for Android inside this Android app folder. So whenever there will be a case when we need a function to behave differently in Android and differently in iOS, we can use this Android app folder and this iOS main folder to declare the different function definition inside it. If you are not able to understand this line, just wait and we will be discussing it in upcoming videos and you will get a clear idea about what I'm talking about. All right. Now, there will be scenarios when you will be needing to add an image or an XML or font, custom font inside your application. So whenever you want to add any resource inside your project, you can do it in Compose resources. Whatever images or anything that you add inside this will be shared in Android as well as iOS. Also, if you have some third-party dependencies that you want to integrate in your projects, then we have build.gradle.kts file. Inside this, you can add external dependencies. Let's say you want to add a dependency in your common main folder. this common main folder, but whatever dependencies that you add in this common main will be implemented in Android as well as iOS. You'll be able to use it in Android as well as iOS. If you have some dependency that you only want in Android, you can add it here. For iOS, we can use it using Cocoa Pods. It's not currently implemented here. So in upcoming videos, you'll be seeing how we can add any third-party dependency that we need to add in iOS. We'll see how we can add it in build.gradle.kts file. So just for a recap, Compose app is the folder where all the common code will lie. Inside this, we have a SRC folder. Inside this, we have a common main. Here we will be writing all the common code. Android main and iOS main we can use if we have some implementation that we want specifically for Android and specifically for iOS. So we can use these two folders to provide two different definitions of a function. This iOS app is the entry point for the iOS application. So even though we are writing the common code for Android and iOS, we need an entry point for iOS, which is this iOS app folder. This iOS app folder will use all the code that is inside this common main. This will use it as a framework to generate an iOS application. We'll see it in action in coming videos. This get ignore file is if you are using GitLab or GitHub, then this get ignore file is used to ignore all the build and library files which are not actually required on any source control, because they just increase the size of the project. So this get ignore file is for that purpose only. And all other things like local.properties, this stores the SDK location of your Android. So these are all system files. We need to be only concerned about the iOS app, this Compose app. That's it. All right. So I hope you got a basic understanding of the project structure. Now let's just go and click on this Run Compose app button to run the application and see it live in Android. All right, so I clicked on this play button here, and my simulate emulator has opened. This is the common problem with the emulator, that it keeps crashing, but you can just click on wait here and this pop-up will go away. So you can see the app is currently running and we have a click me button here. Let's just close it. And once I click on it, the Compose Hello Android 35, this screen appears. And once I click on it again, this click me, this image goes away. All right. So whatever code that is running here in Android emulator is being run based on this app function. So this app function is the entry point of our common main application. Here inside this app function, this code is actually a Compose multi-platform code. And first of all, it introduces the material theme. So it is saying that whatever the code that is written, whatever the UI is inside this material theme, will use the theme that is provided by this material theme. So all the font, images, and everything can be declared inside this material theme. We can create our own theme too. All the content inside this will use this common theme that we provide on top here. Then we have a column. Inside the column, we have a button. On the button, we have a text written as click me, which you can see here. We have a click me button. And on click of it, there is an image that is coming with animation that says text compose, and then the platform, whether it can be Android or it can be iOS. And inside this column, we have an image and then a text. So first you will see an image, which is a Compose logo. And below it, we have a text which says Compose. And then the platform name, which is Android 35 here. All right, so this is the basic UI. Just for reference, it's okay if you don't understand the code here right now, because you don't know Compose multi-platform yet if you are a beginner. So we will be decoding all this code one by one in our upcoming lectures, and you will get all the idea about what this composable is, what this preview is, what this function does, what is this material theme for, why do we use this mutable state of, and why this remember function. So all this will be discussed in our upcoming lectures. This is how the app looks right now. App function is the entry point of the app. Whatever we will write on this will be the first screen that will be visible to us. And yeah, I think that's it. You already seen how the app looks on Android. Let's just stop it and let's see how it looks in iOS. So for running it in iOS, I will just go to this iOS app folder, then this iOS app.xcode project. I will right click on it and select open in Xcode. I'll select trust and open because this is a file that I only downloaded and we know there's nothing malicious. So I'll click on trust and open. So our iOS project is open and we have a few files here. This is the configuration file, which contains the team ID, bundle ID, and the app name. Then this is the assets folder. Like whatever there is image or anything, you can store it here in assets. Currently, we are using Compose Multiplatform, so we already have a Compose resources folder in our common main where we can store all the images. So you don't need to do it here actually. We can do it all there too. If you have something very specific to iOS that you want to add, then yeah, you can use this assets folder to add iOS assets. Like the app icon will be used from this assets folder only. So if you want to add an app icon, you will have to add it inside this assets only. You can see we already have an app icon here, which is a Compose logo. This is already there because we downloaded this course from the template. So that's why we already have an app icon. This iOS app, this is the main entry point of the application. We discussed earlier that we need this iOS app project because we want to give an entry point for the application. So this is the entry point. From here, this content view is being loaded. And this content view, this compose view is actually loading our main view controller KT. This KT stands for Kotlin. So this is actually, this line is loading the Compose multi-platform code that we wrote inside the common main class, common main folder. So this line is where it is calling the Compose app and loading it inside this iOS app, right? Let's just run it so we can see how the app is looking in iOS. Ignore this error. When we will run it, this error will go away. Alright, so that's it for this video. I think you have understood the project structure, how the folders are structured for common main, for iOS, for Android, and why there is a separate iOS app folder. That is because it is the entry point for the iOS application. And we have seen that how we can run application in Android and iOS. In the next videos, we'll be creating a simple counter application that to show how we can use this column, text, button, and all these mutable state of all these elements. We'll be exploring more in our upcoming lectures. So thank you guys for seeing this video. If you have seen this till here, please do like and subscribe the video. And also please comment if you like this video. Just tell me how is your experiences. If you want me to improve anything, just write it down in comments. That's for this video and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.